I understand we have Andy Dickerson here today of Cardinal Conservancy, Natural Resources Assistant Counsel for NRAC. Podium's yours, sir.
Is there a visual aid?
There is.
Touch B.
Hey,
Yeah.
By magic.
B, is that for Board of County?
B is for black and bring it back black.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all. Boy, this is a big crowd. I might want to stay for the rest of this meeting.
They all came for you.
Oh, this is awesome. So, I didn't bring enough of these, but I did want to share these. If you could pass those down. So, we're Cardinal Conservancy. I don't know, you can pass those around too. You'll see right there on the cover, I came before you guys last year seeking a resolution of support for a grant application. And it's part of the Clean Ohio Fund that the voters put in a bond issue back in 2000. And it was continued 8 years later, and it's in a continuance now by an appropriations bill. So it's a bipartisan supported way to protect green space in Ohio. We are in a district with Claremont County, Clinton County, Warren County, and Butler County, and it's competitive for protecting green space. You'll see on the cover of the newsletter that you see, we finally closed on a old growth forest in northeast Claremont County that's got swamp white oak, red maple, and beech trees that have never been cut. And it's a wet swamp forest, and it's just amazing. So we're going to start to make some improvements on that and get it ready. We're working with Wilmington College and UC Claremont to do some studies, and we hope to continue that trend as we look to protect green space in the area. So a little bit about Cardinal. So we are a land trust. We're kind of like those of you that have heard of the Nature Conservancy. We're like them, but right in your backyard. We do it in Southwest Ohio, and we do it in 7 counties. We're not in Butler County because they have Three Valley Conservation Trust, and they do a lot of similar things. So we pride ourselves on working where other people don't. The majority of our land holdings are conservation easements. We protect ag land, and through the state, the same program, Clean Ohio has a green space program, and they have an agricultural program. And working with the Ohio Department of Agriculture, we work with families that want to protect their farm forever from being subdivided and split up and sold off to purchase conservation easements on them. So more recently, we've started getting into green space protection. Oh, there's another map that talks about our councils. Sorry, we've got an active corps of volunteers. We're working on increasing our membership. So those of you that like what we do, go to cardinallandconservancy.org and become a member. We need members. In our mission, I kind of explained it, but preserving natural habitats, waterways, and productive lands we love in Southwest Ohio, working with people just like you. What we're looking to do and seeking a resolution of support, again, it's a requirement of the Clean Ohio program for when a nonprofit gets involved that we need a resolution of support. If it's a branch of county government, then they just need to notify you guys and the township. As a private nonprofit, we have to get a resolution of support to apply or to receive funds. This is a property off of 132. It's about 150 acres. It's got scenic views, and we are working with 2 different landowners to seek to purchase the property and turn it into a nature preserve and passive hiking trail. That's the air photo from last year and what it looks like. The spot in the middle is not going to be purchased. That was carved out a long time ago as a homestead area. But you'll see the part to the south, the bottom of the picture, is 12 Mile Creek. And it has a half a mile of frontage on 12 Mile Creek. And there's also a lot of steep slopes on this. And that's important because it's a priority for Clean Ohio Green Space Program to protect steep slopes. So you'll have to excuse my voice. I was out hiking Saturday on one of our other nature preserves, and the pollen is crazy this time.
Pollen is crazy, yes.
So there's some of the advantages of this property and why it ranks out for our board. We have 11 people on our board that choose to act on properties, and this one has great views. We're working more and more on protecting the Ohio River Valley, the steep slopes, the creek frontage, and also looking into local zoning in Ohio Township zoning. They actually call out that these specific slopes and these steep hillsides, 90% of those across the township should be protected. So we're fitting right into what local zoning is wants to see. Just a couple photos from up on high. You can see the river, but in the winter, because there is quite a bit of tree cover there. So it is a very scenic and beautiful place. 12 Mile Creek, you know, it is also very scenic. It's because of the high flows, there's not a lot of in-stream habitat, but you can see I'm kind of pointing to what's called it's a water penny. So it's a macroinvertebrate that is an indicator of high oxygen, which indicates good water quality. So that close to the Ohio River having good water quality in 12 Mile Creek is a good thing. And just trying to capture a little bit of the steep slopes. So what you'll see is in part of the request, according to a state certified appraiser, looking to appraise the property, or both properties, the total project costs are at $2.358 million, and our request is $1.768. So there's a minimum of 25% donated back in match through a bargain sale by the landowners. So they are kind of conservation minded and wanting to give back. And they are giving Cardinal a donation over and above that so we can steward the property and take care of it in perpetuity.
Explain that just for my edification. When it talks about a give back, is that the property owner just reducing the price based on that, or is that actual a cash donation give back?
So, both. As part of the grant, there's a 25% match requirement.
Okay.
So we have to bring money to the table. It can be in the form of a bargain sale. So it can be land value or timber value.
Okay. So you can bring that timber value. We're not talking about having to write a certified cashier's check for that 20%.
That's right. No.
Okay.
As long as it is done by ODOT approved appraiser, then a bargain sale and reduced to sale amount can count as the match for the grant.
Okay, so in other words, if I have, and just for talking points, not to belabor the point, but if I have a $1.6 million appraisal and I agree to 20% less than that, that's my give back.
25%.
25%. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
And these landowners are willing to voluntarily give a cash donation to Cardinal to help us. We recently became a nationally accredited land trust. So we are accredited through, it's a separate organization from the Land Trust Alliance. And we've just been working 2 years to become accredited, and we meet the high standards to be able to do that. So we're one of only 5 land trusts in Ohio to be accredited. So because of that and our governance and our finances, we've set up separate funds for operations and stewardship. And they're going to donate back to those funds to help us take care of the property. Because when we get in, we're in forever. Just all the folks that we work with a lot of different funds. We work with the Nature Center, ODA, Clean Ohio, you know, the governor's new fund coming down the pike. I'm involved with the Coalition of Ohio Land Trusts on the steering committee, and there's a $900 million fund that we may have access to down here called H2 Ohio. So it's all about water quality. Lake Erie will get half of that. 24 counties that drain the Lake Erie. The Ohio River Drainage will get the other half of the funds. So that's it for my presentation.
Andy, just a quick question. Last fall, the Rinsky Nature Preserve,
Yes,
that was designated by the ODNR as a natural landmark for the timber.
that's right.
Is there anything on this property that has been designated by ODNR as being unique to the area?
So ODNR has identified quite a few endangered and threatened species that are within a 1 mile radius of the property, but because they can't survey every property, we don't know if they're on site until we survey it ourselves. The majority of the species used to be in 12 Mile Creek. They're freshwater mussels and fish. And we think they're in there, but we don't know. ODNR's identified them as being in a 1 mile area.
Okay.
But nothing, that designation from risky is rare. You don't
Right.
just see the natural landmarks everywhere. But this, with the scenic views, and we have a strict protocol of conservation criteria we have to follow, and it fits our conservation criteria.
And what about the public access to the property? How's that going to work?
So public access, it's not mandatory under Clean Ohio. What we'd like to do is one day get there. It'll be on the south off of 12 Mile Road. There's a driveway that goes up, and that's going to be where we're going to need to eventually make a couple parking spaces, and that's where our trailhead will start from.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this piece of property. This is in Ohio Township. It's very close to me. This is the Uible Farm,
That's right.
and it has two accesses. It has one off of State Route 132, and then one off of 12 Mile Creek. 12 Mile Creek was the original access
That's right,
to the
and we
property.
don't intend on using the 132 at all.
Okay, you're
Just
planning
12
on
mile.
using the old 12 Mile
That's
Creek?
right.
Because the 132 goes with the parcel in the center that
That's right.
left out.
Correct. That stays with the, is it 9.3 acres request?
I think
I think that's.
whatever they pulled
I
out.
think I read that. Well, thank you. Any other questions, board? Clarifications?
So part of it's the Uible Farm, part of it is who's the other owner?
Well, it's owned by Cindy Castle, the
Okay.
big piece, and the other is Woody Uible.
Okay,
So that's her brother-in-law.
okay, very good.
Yep. All righty. Thank you.
Thanks. Hello, my name is Andy Dickerson. I live at 5440 South Milford Road in Milford. I was here Monday speaking with you all about a resolution of support for a Clean Ohio grant. So I wanted to come back and report a couple updates to you. One thing, I wanted to thank Jim Meyer for being here. He's our new president of our board, starting this month, so thanks for coming in support. I forgot to mention Monday that Cardinal, when we were formed out of, 3 organizations coming together, but it was really based on the agenda for the future, and more specifically, goal number 9, that states there are more preserved and protected natural areas in Clermont County that can be enjoyed by current and future generations. And also a goal 10 for the quality of life of Clermont County residents being enhanced. So after I left the meeting Monday, I was able to meet with UC Claremont, and one of the things that they're excited about is including more nature preserves, just like the one we're applying for, in getting students engaged in science and making sure that they're employable when they graduate. So not just knowing what to do on Monday, but where to work on Monday after graduation. Monday night was busy, so we were able to get to the Ohio Township trustee meeting and got a resolution of support from the local township, and thanks Mr. Henson for participating in that meeting. In Tuesday it was, I guess it's Clermont County Week, because we were at the Batavia Rotary and speaking with YMCA about participating in some of our nature preserve programs. So really, I just wanted to reiterate, we could really use a resolution and support. It's not really of the project, it's for our application to the grant program. And, that resolution will enable money that could be dispersed across 4 counties to stay right here in Clermont County. And by the way, they're less than 1% of funds away from funding all the projects that presented. So it would enable also the use of the state approved and appropriated funds. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Any other additions to the agenda, Tom?
The only consideration we have would be the Cardinal Conservancy request to provide a resolution of support for their project.
Is it the will of the board, or is it the will of the board that a resolution be prepared for the Cardinal Conservancy?
I would like that to occur, yes. So we'd take a brief recess to have that prepared.
Should we have that prepared, recess and for preparation?
Well, there's, no, if there-
I'd also ask that if the board would approve to table this item unless, until I get some answers, I have some questions about this project that I would like to have defined before I would like to put it in a motion of a resolution by this board.
I move that we table the item for further discussion and review, as suggested by Commissioner Corcoran. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Item has been tabled. County and staff elected official discussions. Tom, any county staff elected
Just a
officials?
quick comment. Spoke to NRAC. They are due to score and review the applications tomorrow. And then they also indicated to me that they're also going to consider whether or not to accept the resolutions of support because the application deadline was April 26th.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure the board was aware that they are meeting tomorrow.
So let's just talk about that. So
Sure.
this particular resolution that you requested for the conservancy of the property, what we're talking about there is that they're going to determine if there's another date that's going to be applicable?
Well, they're going to determine tomorrow whether or not they're going to accept those after the deadline. If they may choose to not extend the deadline, but set a new deadline sometime after August. And in that case, if they establish a new deadline, then it would provide also the opportunity for other agencies to apply for funding as well. So it's not really extending just the ones that have already applied, but it would open it up for others. So I don't know what they're going to do tomorrow, but I was informed that they were going to consider that tomorrow.
So there's an NRAC meeting tomorrow, is that correct?
That's right, and we started late because we didn't really start on this project again. I know we talked about it a few years ago, but we didn't start on it until late after, late January this year. So we usually start earlier and give plenty of time for inclusion by local government, but we just didn't for a variety of reasons. So the rules, and it's tricky. According to the Ohio Public Works Commission, the local Natural Resources Advisory Council, which is NRAC 10 here over the 4 counties, they've got the ability to decide what they want. According to the Public Works Commission, they don't mind if you don't have the resolution at the time of your application or scoring. What they do require is that before they will release funds, you need to have that resolution of support. Okay. So the local NRAC can decide to not, or to deem the project ineligible. What the larger OPWC recommends is to assign point values for that and not make projects ineligible, but to give them less of a score. So I think they're gonna revamp the program in August, and Linda Bailiff has stepped in and she's now in charge of the program. She's trying to even out all the different requirements across the different councils.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're not in a time crunch here with the meeting that's going to go on tomorrow.
So what I can say is, we wanted to see about getting a resolution to not put the NRAC in a tight spot. They can decide not to fund it tomorrow because we do not have a resolution of support from the county. So
Okay.
that's in the realm of possibility. So to us, there's a time crunch. I mean, it's a wonderful project, and with the creek frontage and the steep slopes and how it's pointed out in the Ohio Township zoning to protect those steep slopes, I'm confident it'll score well in this round. But
Okay.
And so the funding amount is a consideration as well. So if there's only so much money, so if they decide tomorrow, they look at all the applications, decide how much money we have for these projects, they could, if there's more requests than funds, then they could take some of that money and say to an applicant, hey, we can't give you all of what you're asking for, but you can take a little bit less. They can extend the deadline to allow those funds to be spent if, for example, they make this project ineligible because they didn't get a resolution of support and they want to have a new deadline in, say, September, then they can reallocate those funds, I believe, at that time.
Okay.
So, I spoke to Linda Bailiff last Friday, and she did acknowledge the fact that the statute does say that those resolutions of support are required to be submitted with the application. And that's 16423 of the High Revised Code.
Interesting. I've asked for clarification on that before and got a different answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I'd like to see us prepare a letter of support and move forward with this today if we can, but I understand if we can't, that's okay.
We'd have to have a motion to add that item back from the table,
Right.
back to the agenda, I believe.
You'd
Correct,
have-
Judy, that's
you'd
where
have
we're
to
at
move it- You'd have to move it from the table back out onto
for
the,
consideration.
And all that was on the table, first of all, we had a motion, there was no second to it. And then we had a response for a second, and we indicate that
Sorry.
response for that second was they'd like to have it tabled until they had the rest of their information received. Then Mr. Painter moved to table it, Commissioner Corcoran seconded it, and it was unanimous to table. Table the issue, not necessarily, we had a motion. It was in and as it related to the disposition of a request for letter of support in and as it relates to the New Richmond Nature Preserve project.
I'd like to make a motion that we take it off the table and consider it today.
Let me find a spot to put that.
a motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Apparently not.
Motion will stay tabled.
May I ask a question at this point? Is it possible for you, when you go to your meeting, to say that pending further questioning, that you could bring it, that we would bring it back on the table, that not just saying no or no?
That wouldn't be for him to decide or to relate to that.
Okay.
Because that's a decision that the board makes on whether or not to table an issue. But as far as
No,
asking any questions or getting questions
Yeah.
answered,
Yeah, that's what I
whatever
meant.
questions that you have, we can try to get those answered for you in
All
the
right.
interim.
All right,
Yeah, I'm happy to answer whatever.
all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.